Old Cayman moon,
The voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
shining down from above.
We love our listeners.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
In answer to his question about the subjects,
There are more questions than answers. Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
oh, what a compliment. For that, I thank you.
What is happening now? There are hopeless and
Now it's time for us to stand up to God or we fall to nothing.
It's time now for Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
Listening to the general public, what the public is saying.
And good afternoon, Radio Cayman Nation, and a very happy Tuesday to you all. Thank you for tuning into your station of the nation, Radio Cayman. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Kicking off our show today, we'll have a very small panel here to discuss equality in the workplace. As always, we do welcome your stories, feedback, and questions, and invite you to join our conversation. Given our full lineup today, though, we do ask that you keep any calls or comments very brief. Simply dial 1-800-534-8255. That's 1-800-534-TALK or 949-8037. Or you can always WhatsApp us at 925-3261. Be back with more talk today following this very brief disclaimer.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Live Communication.
Let your voice be heard.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and very pleased to have in studio Miss Carleen Bramwell, Senior Policy Analyst with the Gender Affairs Unit, and Mr. Ramesh Maharaj, the partner with responsibility for equality, diversity, and inclusion at Morant Ozanes.
correct.
I said it correctly. The pronunciation of names is always one that never been my strongest point, and I'm glad I had that correctly. Welcome to Talk Today.
Thank you.
Thank you. So again, to our listeners out there, we will be having an hour conversation discussing the evolving landscape of equality in the workplace, what it means, the importance of diversity and inclusion, and where we've seen the changes in the past 20 to 30 years since this conversation really started, as far back as I can remember. It's probably started a lot further back than 30 years ago, but just kind of get a feel for where things are at. So, Carleen, if we can put the spotlight right on you right off the bat. Coming from the Gender Affairs Unit, when we start looking at the landscape of diversity and inclusion and equality in the workplace, what does that mean from your office's standpoint?
Well, first of all, gender equality for us is about having the same equality of opportunity, essentially, for men and women within the workplace. And really that means that whether it's in recruitment, whether it's in promotions, whether it's in the remuneration, etc., all of these things, and these are covered under the Gender Equality Law 2011. And I'll go into that a little bit further as we talk. But I just wanted to add as well that from the Gender Affairs Unit, I kind of wear a number of hats as well, because I'm also a member of the Older Persons Council. And that body also promotes age and making sure that ageism, it does not happen in the society. So even within the workplace as well, we would be looking at that. And age is covered under the labor law as opposed to the gender equality law. But just to say that I'll be kind of speaking from all of those sorts of contexts. One of the things that happened within the last 2 years was that the name of my post actually recognizing how much diversity comes into it and all of the different characteristics of diversity. We actually changed that name to Gender Diversity and Equality. That's my senior policy analyst for gender, diversity and equality, because we realize the intersectionality of all of those issues.
Sure. Okay, so there's a lot of moving parts here, a lot of different hats you're wearing at the same time.
Yes.
All right, so when we talk about the labor law and the gender equality law, are there any other laws that impact this conversation?
Those would be some of the main ones. I think from the civil service point of view, then you'll be looking at the public service management law. Okay. And then, of course, you have the overriding things like the human the constitutional.
Bill of Rights.
Exactly.
Okay. And then as far as the labor law, what are the other criteria that we're talking about when we start talking about discrimination in the workforce?
And I have brought these laws because I cannot rely on my own memory.
There's a lot in there.
So I'll quote what it actually talks about. Perfect. So in terms of discrimination, it prohibits discrimination on the basis of race, color, age, mental or psychological ability, political belief. So those particular things are actually in the labor law at Section 81.
Okay, so 5 different parts encompassing that. And then the separate gender equality law covers
and things, let me just mention, there are some overlaps as well. So there is pregnancy and sex and so forth within the labor law as well.
Okay.
And then from the gender equality law, we're talking specifically then about sex, gender, pregnancy is one of them. And also we're looking at marital status is another. And any characteristics basically based on gender, which appertains generally or is generally imputed to persons of a particular sex or marital status or pregnant state is actually what the law actually states.
Okay, and that's under the gender
yes.
equality law.
Yes.
For our listeners at home, since this conversation has changed a bit over the past 5 to 10 years, when we start changing the conversation from sex and gender, are you able to elaborate for our listeners what we mean? Because pre 10 years ago, those two meant the same thing.
Together, yes.
But it's now become 2 different topics.
Well, it has always been. I think it's just the understanding of
the understanding.
So sex itself is about the biological characteristics. Okay. So when we say sex, we're talking about the chromosomes, essentially, male and female. When we say gender, and again, I'll quote what the law actually says, it's talking more about it says gender means the cultural, economic, social, and political characteristics, roles, and opportunities through which women and men are socially constructed and valued. So we're talking more about the social sort of things when we're talking about gender. So it's the experience that you have within the world as a man or a woman.
Okay. Makes sense. And the gender equality law covers both sex and gender.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just to make sure we have a bit of clarity on the moving parts of those laws. And there's a lot in this conversation. We start talking about gender equality, diversity. Ramesh?
I was just going to say that I think the point about how the understanding has changed is perhaps a very important point. If we look back the last 20 to 30 years, we've, none of this is really new in one way. Right. It used to be called equal opportunities. We now call it, gender balance, gender equality, right. Diversity, inclusion. The taglines are definitely different. They're certainly modernized. But the core essence of what we were all trying to achieve and sort of what society is trying to achieve is still there. It's still a moving target.
Correct.
It's becoming a bit more sophisticated, which sometimes means it's a bit harder or seems harder to achieve. But I think it's really important sometimes to, again, look back at where we've come from, because when we look at the global events in particular, it can be relatively easy to feel a little bit despondent that anyone's standing up and saying, well, actually diversity is a good thing, or inclusion is a good thing. That can be quite difficult. But actually, in the field that I operate in, and sort of the business side, we're going through a little bit of a purple patch at the moment, because if we were having this conversation 15 years ago, 10 years ago, we would be having to persuade clients and business customers that diversity is a good thing. Right. And I think where we are today is a lot of people are certainly of the view that, no, we get it. Diversity is absolutely imperative. It's important. And so our challenge now, compared to where it was 15, 20 years ago, is to look at building from that base to make sure that this is just not a fad, it's just not a tagline, that we can now provide the forward momentum to take a lot of that learning, that new awareness, and turn it into something that really is positive and make some real meaningful change.
Correct. Yep.
And
I'm glad to hear that companies like Marantz is doing that, because really and truly that is what we need to do, to have these concepts integrated in the policies within the company, showing the business case for it, and making sure that at the end of the day people do feel confident within your company, both as a client and as a worker within that company, to know that you are valued as a person, regardless of any of those characteristics.
Regardless of any of the items. Before we go to our commercial break, Ramesh, I'm glad you brought up the 20, 30 years ago when we were having this conversation, the necessity to persuade our various stakeholders, whether they were clients or business owners, that diversity was a good attribute to have within your business. Looking back 30 years ago, what do you think really drove that change 30, 40 years ago to really start tackling the necessity to make this conversation a reality in the workplace? What do you think was the driving force 20, 30 years ago?
I think just kind of off the top of my head, one of the things that I would think about is who your consumers were, and also the fact that, 20, 30 years ago, you then had more women entering the workplace, for example. So these things then became kind of in your face. Therefore, you had to do something as a company to start then thinking about, how do I ensure that everybody feels valued within my company? So I think that is it. And then, of course, on the flip side of it, if your customer base looks different, then it makes sense that you on the inside also reflect what your customer base looks like, because of course you're going to have better ideas, you're going to have things that are going to come out that, for example, in a car, having a cup holder might be something that would not have necessarily come up had it not been for the ways then that people started working, driving, taking care of different things. So one of the things that I'd love to see in a car, though, is a space to put your handbag. So these are some of the things that actually come out as a result of having conversations with persons of different ideas and experiences.
I have to ask now, what do you think that would look like? What would it be, like a handle you hang on the door?
That's a good idea.
Is that you put on like the passenger seat?
We could do that. We could do a hanging thing, or a box, some sort of a box where it can stay upright.
This is how every great business idea has ever happened. There was a problem, and someone came up with a solution.
Fix it. Yep.
On that note, let's go to our first commercial break. Back with more Talk Today right after this.
Santa came early this year. Get ready for the best Black Friday sales event at Penha, MAC Cosmetics, and Victoria's Secret. From November 26th through November 28th, amazing savings on fragrances, cosmetics, accessories, and apparels. Start your Christmas shopping early and save big. Penha Perfumes and Cosmetics on 40 Cardinal Avenue, Georgetown.
Black Friday sales are finally here. Get ahead of the New Year's rush with the Black Friday sale at King Sports Center. Annual squash memberships as low as $300. And unlike others, you never pay any additional court or registration fees. Why spend 40% more with other gyms? 1-year Powerhouse Gym memberships are only $385. For more information, call 946 888-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit kingsportscenter.com.
Black Friday.
Black Friday sale at King Sports Center. One day only, Friday, November 27th. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
Your Radio Cayman 6 p.m. news, Monday through Friday, is brought to you by Logic. Your life connected.
Satisfaction is guaranteed 24 hours a day, whether it's music or information.
From Grand Cayman to Cayman Brac to Little Cayman, we've got you covered.
You ever hear a thing like that?
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're only now tuning in, I am Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and very pleased to have in studio Miss Carleen Bramwell, Senior Policy Analyst with the Gender Equality and Diversity Unit. Did I get that correct?
Gender Affairs Unit, but diversity and equality.
Within that.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Ramesh Maharaj, the Partner for Equality, Diversity, and Inclusion at Morant. Thank you again for joining us. Again, to all of our listeners out there, you're welcome to join our conversation. Just give us a call at 1-800-534-8255. Ramesh, turning the conversation over to yourself and Morant. With regards to the conversation on equality, diversity, and inclusion, how has Morant taken steps to really bring this to reality over the past 5 to 10 years?
Yeah, and it's a very good question, because I think every business organization out there, you want to make a meaningful contribution, and so you have to have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you're effectively simply paying lip service to any sort of diversity and inclusion, no matter how great your intentions are, no matter how much you want to see things improve.
Sure.
So the way we've approached this, and I think it's important to say that there probably, when it comes to diversity and inclusion, there are probably definitely things that are wrong to do, that you know that are wrong, but there is a whole sea of other options available to companies that some may work for some companies and some may not work. So it really has to fit the mold, the culture, the approach of the organization to ensure that you have what works for you and what works well. So from a Morant perspective, the way we've approached this, and we've seen this working very well for us, is we wanted to spread the conversation across a very, very broad spectrum of our employees, of our staff. And so we have employee-led networks, and it's absolutely voluntary. And we wanted it to be that way because we wanted that enthusiasm to come out in the discussions. And part of breaking down barriers, part of moving forward, is actually understanding people that have a different perspective from you, or everyone has different feelings. What you see as X, someone else may interpret or see as Y. And it's just trying to have a safe place to have that type of conversation, because you can learn quite a lot from it. And just to give you an example, we have a gender a balanced network. We have a race and ethnicity employee-led network. And just taking the gender balance network, based on the conversations that we have had with our employees, we are in the middle of revising our maternity and our paternity cover that will come into effect, enhanced, which will come into effect hopefully by February.
Excellent.
But we would not have really fully understood the alternative points of view if we didn't have these networks available to hear them. And remember, it's a double-edged sword. You're not always going to hear what you want to hear, but the important thing is to be able to allow those views. And you don't have to agree with everything, but you at least have to acknowledge it. You have to discuss it. And even if you disagree, you have to disagree agreeably. Right. You have to understand. But that whole process of understanding helps an organization move forward. But you have to listen, because one of the greatest evil, I think, that's certainly out there when you talk about diversity and inclusion is what I call postcard diversity. the idea of simply taking a photograph and saying, well, look, it looks like we've got 50% women or 40% people of colour or what have you.
Right.
Because I think that's the diversity piece. You haven't gone to the inclusion piece. And that, I think, it goes back to the point we just made a little while ago. Why and where have we come from over the last 30 odd years? I think we were very, very focused on diversity in the past. Now we are focused on diversity, but also inclusion as well.
Mm-hmm.
And quickly, we do have one caller on the line. You mentioned the maternity and paternity revisions to the way you're operating. Those policies are changing in February 2021. Are you able to discuss what that might look like, or are they still a work in progress?
Not publicly at the moment, but
Okay.
what I would say, it is enhanced substantially compared to the statutory entitlements.
Oh, that's great. Thank you so much for that. We do have one caller on the line. We'll take that caller now. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon to you, Mr. Singh. Good afternoon to your panel there. And I quite understand. I'm trying to wrap around this, what this is all about, and I totally agree with it. Moving towards gender equality, but I'm just wondering if we're not trying to regulate and make rules and laws and so complicate life for the average normal citizen that they might be bewildered and wondering what they should be doing. Should they continue to? I'll just give you a simple example, and I'll hush up and just listen for your answer. We always would open doors for the ladies working with us, and we'd always pull out a chair. We'd always let them walk ahead of us. We'd always say, let me pick that up for you because, it's a lady. If we do that now, are we saying you're inferior? The ladies are inferior while we're doing this for them? But the many courtesies that we did before, should we still continue simple things? Because we're saying now it's gender equality. Should I open the door? There are many other things, as you know, if you just think about it. Should we, because we might be putting them in the category of being inferior, if we do these things, continue to do the normal time-honored traditional things, and we can over-regulate, we can over-complicate things that we simply don't know whether we should continue with our normal lives that we always did. This is just a little thought, when I listen to all this. And so I'll just hang up, and if you wrap your mind around what I was trying to say there, you'll kind of try to understand what I'm trying to portray. The normal things, the simple courtesies, and many other things that made women and men different in our society. And I just wondered, what about that? What about these things?
Caller, thank you so much for that. We'll aim to address that right now. Thank you so much for calling in. To elaborate a bit on the caller's question, we've had similar conversations in the past, and similar questions have come up of the changing of mannerisms and behaviors to how that has changed along with the gender conversation and the equality conversation. You could look at it from the dating perspective of who pays for that first date. And that's if you just ask that question on social media, you'll get no shortage of a firestorm of answers flying back at you, right, of who should pay for the first date. Because it has changed. In the past, it would have been just a standard, as Mr. Holmes said, the expectation that if you dropped your bag, I would go and pick it up, or I would open that door for you and hold the door for you. There was that expectation as a child. We called it being a gentleman or whatever you want to call it. What does that mean to the conversation now? I don't know who wants to tackle this. It's a very broad question. So, Carlene, I'm going to throw you under the bus here with this one.
No problem. I think for me, first of all, what I would like to know as a woman is that a man realizes that I am capable. But it does not mean that every single time I want to open my own car door or I want to, open my own door. So and I think that this is then where the conversation around value comes. Because if it is that you realize that I'm capable, it also does not take away from me that you would like to do a particular thing for me, right? Okay. So as long as you realize I'm capable, that is fine. Don't consider me, weak or anything like that. I'll get up on a ladder. I was telling people the other day that during the midst of all these storms that came, I got up on a ladder and I took down what I needed to take down, and I used my own hammer and so forth. So understand that women are capable, but it does not mean that you can't support them in ways that maybe they ask you for help, which is a good thing, or you offer. If you offer and then the person says, well, no, thank you, then that's a different sort of a thing, but at least you have offered. So I think that those things should not just die just because we're talking about equality in that way.
Okay, fair enough. Ramesh, anything you want to include in that?
Yeah, I would probably say that I don't think politeness and kindness generally is you swap that out because you suddenly decide that you want to push forward an agenda on equality. But I appreciate that from the caller's perspective that it can sometimes be difficult to determine what the right thing to do in a particular circumstance is. Sure. But I will still continue to open doors for someone if I can.
You'll still do what you were raised to do, and that's the way the landscape is right now. I
think the only major thing is then when you start going down the route of sexual harassment, which is a whole nother conversation, but also covered within the law as it is. And just going back to the first point that the caller made, laws are made because there is a need. But at the end of the day, even when you have a law, it's still about attitudes and so forth, behaviors, because things can be written down and we just don't necessarily follow them. Because if we did follow them, for example, we wouldn't have the need, for example, for a gender equality tribunal that then looks at discrimination within the workplace. So there has to be some place where you actually have laid down a law to guide people in terms of their behaviors.
Excellent point. If we can circle back now to the conversation on maternity and paternity leave. Morant has mentioned that come 2021 they're going to have a new policy coming into effect, which slightly more generous than the current statutory regimen. As far as the law speaks to maternity and paternity leave, do you have those in front of you, or what the law speaks to on that?
In the labor law, as far as I know, and the version that I'm looking at is the 2011 revision, it actually doesn't have paternity leave. Okay. And I think that's the latest revision, as far as I know. I would have loved to have somebody here from the Labour Department to talk about those things. Of course. But that's the understanding that I know. What we have done as Gender Affairs, for example, is actually encourage exactly what Morant is doing. You don't need to wait on the law in order to change in order for you as a company to actually put in policies in place. So, for example, I think it was last year that Cable and Wireless announced that they were having something like 6 weeks paternity leave, or I think it was even more than that. And those things are great, because what we also want to see is that men, and this month is International Men's Month. We talked about International Men's Day the other day, but we want to see that men are more engaged with their families in any case. So we want to see, things that go ahead, looking at your own staff, knowing what their needs are, supporting them in that way, and put down your own policies. So in a situation like Morant, where they're going beyond what is well, not in the law at the moment, but they're taking it upon themselves, that is a great thing. And if more companies will do that, then the law will follow eventually.
Perfect point to take a quick commercial break. On that note, back more talk today right after this.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Rotary Central Music Extravaganza tickets. They're flying out the window. Get your tickets now from Rotary Central members, Rotary ticket sellers, online at eventpro.ky, Funky Tangs, A.L. Thompson's Home Depot, The Bar at Mango Tree Restaurant, Sievert's Bar on Eastern Avenue, or on Cayman Brack from the Rotary Club of Cayman Brack and Tishara Lewis, or from Barcam on the Run in Red Bay and gas stations island-wide. Get ready to be a winner with your chance to win $40,000 or a second prize of $4,000. And there are 6 $1,000 prizes and more. Do you have your golden ticket for the golden chance? Rotary Central and the Music Extravaganza 2020, supporting over 70 Rotary community projects. Rotary Central, not-for-profit number 232. Your ticket for your chance and your contribution to a better community through Rotary. Remember, Rotary. It opens opportunities.
As the community continues to take precautions from COVID-19, it is important to stay prepared for other disasters now that we're in the hurricane season. Here are some post-hurricane safety tips from the Department of Environmental Health. Did you know that you must discard fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, foods in canisters, dented, leaking, or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater? For full guidance on post-hurricane safety tips, visit www.deh.gov.ky.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brack and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And if you're just tuning in, we're very pleased to have in studio Ms. Carleen Bramwell from the Gender Affairs Unit and Mr. Ramesh Maharaj, partner with Marant, who also handles their policies on equality, diversity, and inclusion. And our whole conversation today is about equality in the workplace. And very broad conversation. It covers many different parts. And earlier in the show, we touched on the 2 different laws that really govern this conversation, both the labor law and the gender equality law. Before the break, we were briefly talking about maternity and paternity leave. Right now, within the 2011 labor law, paternity leave is not currently mentioned. When we start talking about the future of how this conversation is going to evolve, eventually I imagine paternity leave will find its way into the law at some point. But with regards to small businesses and even medium-sized businesses and supporting their their staff and trying to manage vacation time and pensions and insurance and all the other costs that come with running a business, when you start having your staff members in your small business leaving the workforce or leaving your workplace for extended periods of time because of maternity leave or eventually paternity leave, it can be a very difficult conversation for small business owners. And we start talking about on the flip side of this coin, pregnancy discrimination. Is that the formal term? It's not right, I'm saying, for employers to discriminate against families or young families who might be pregnant or expecting. But from the economic standpoint, sometimes you can kind of rationalize why their decision making is how they don't want to discriminate, but they're kind of in a position where they may not be able to afford to bring on someone who is pregnant, knowing that in a very short period of time they're going to be off on maternity leave. How does this enter the conversation we start talking about? It's a very broad one. It's a very delicate one, and I appreciate that. But trying to wear the hat of a small business owner right now, what they might be experiencing as much as the employee side, how do we approach this part of the conversation?
Well, just to say, just in terms of the number of days for paternity and maternity leave, obviously across the world, there are varying numbers in terms of how much days you can get. Sure. And I think it's all of those sorts of concerns that come into that equation. In our civil service, for example, I think paternity leave is 10 days.
I believe so,
and I believe it's half paid and half not paid. But as I said, across the world, and the ILO, the International Labour Organization, will recommend a certain number of days and so forth. So there's varying based on the circumstances. And I think that is why it's hard to get to a definite number. The considerations around payments and so forth obviously is something that people must consider. But at the end of the day, you are talking about, well, in terms of maternity leave, obviously half of your workforce could potentially be, and your talent pool could potentially be affected by that. Are you going to then eliminate, people from 25 years old to 35 years old? Are you really willing to give up all of that talent, all the resources, all the experience that they have and everything that they can bring to your business just because there is the potential to be pregnant? So I think, it's about looking at what is best for, one, the society, and also, yes, for the company. So there is a trade-off sometimes, yes, but it's about the bigger issues, I think.
Oh, you mentioned the international standards. You referenced the organization.
International Labour Organization.
What is their recommendations generally in regards to maternity?
Numbers are not my thing, Ray. That's why we have the internet.
There's a lot of... There are a lot of organizations out there. We can always Google it, but ultimately there are standards that the international groups have laid out there for recommended course of action. And what is the current maternity leave now within
the maternity leave here in the labor law is 12 weeks, as far as I understand.
So roughly 3 months.
20 working days at full pay and 20 at half pay.
Okay. And then within the civil service, how does that?
In the civil service, I believe you can get up to it's about 3 months, I believe, 6 weeks paid, and then the rest of it unpaid, I believe, is how that is.
Okay, so slightly different formats, but
slightly,
roughly about the same. Yes,
which was one of the things that actually came up in the LA the other day. I think Member of Parliament Chris Saunders had put up a proposal in relation to making that equal across the board.
Okay. Do you know if Mr. Saunders put out anything in regards to paternity leave being included in that?
I think there was a conversation around that, but I'm not sure if actually it was formally proposed. But that is one of the things that we're looking at as well in terms of just parental leave, so that it's not only within that time right after the birth, but throughout a period of time, whether it is up to, the child is 2 years old or whatever.
Sure, okay.
So all of those things, again, are things that have to be considered very, very carefully.
Okay, thank you. We do have one caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my call. I've got one brief question. It's a two-sided question, actually. Now, my question is premised on what I consider to be true, which is that generally speaking, Caymanians in Caymanian society are discriminated against as Caymanians. Now, if you take the syllogism a little bit further, then you'll say, well, if women are sometimes generally discriminated against, then of course Caymanian women would suffer even double discrimination because of that. Now, I wonder what role, if any, the department or the institution they are concerned, to what extent they try to cater specifically to the discrimination against Caymanian women, being call it the weaker sex of a weaker people who are discriminated against. Now, the second part of the question, the lady there talked about the need for laws. Okay, we always need the laws very often to take the lead, so that hopefully after that then policies can develop. But then there's the issue of who are the people who are making the laws? The common problem in Cayman is in a lot of places, it is very often the men who are in the majority making laws and therefore policies which will govern women. Is there anything being done to ensure that that issue is also addressed? That there's a move not just to get the laws enacted, but that in fact the people who actually consider those laws and enact them give a greater scope for women to be involved. And again, I ask that question because I believe in Cayman, it is usually not the Caymanians who are involved. The politicians are controlled by people from outside. It's a little bit of a hard question, but that's my question. Could I just hear what the responses to that? Thanks for the opportunity.
Caller, thank you so much. We have about 3 minutes until our 1 p.m. headline news. Carlene, did you want to tackle the first part of the question in regards to discrimination against Caymanian women in the workforce?
So just from a pregnancy discrimination part, let me just say that the Gender Equality Tribunal is where any complaints of any of the discriminatory actions that I spoke about, on the grounds that I spoke about, would come into play. I gather that there are discussions around Fair Employment Commission or something to that effect, and I think that maybe that is one of the other avenues where that may actually be addressed, but that has not been finalized at the moment, which is not under necessarily my ministry, but that is one of the other places where to kind of find those, because we hear these things a lot. The data on it may not necessarily be available right off the bat because it's not necessarily recorded in any standardized way. So I think that we are aware of it, and the government is taking steps to see how those things can be addressed. I appreciate the caller actually, and I feel like I need to connect with him because he's talking my language essentially. In terms of making laws and enacting laws, sure. That is an important point that he made in terms of one of the things that we would want to see is that there are mandatory, if necessary, whether you want to call them quotas or whatever, in order to ensure that we have a good diverse group of people who are actually involved in the making of laws, policies, etc., hearing from persons and putting those things into policies and laws. So inclusion definitely is important.
From the elected standpoint or from the administrative standpoint?
Both, I would have to say. And I mean, government tries to do as much stakeholder engagement as possible, sure. I believe. So I think that is one of the areas definitely where that continued dialogue with persons who are relevant to the conversation needs to continue to happen.
I appreciate the caller's viewpoint as well, like on the necessity for an equal sharing of voices at the table making decisions. But when we talk about a democratic society and we vote in our elected officials, how would you suggest we go about mandating quotas on that?
Not necessarily. I mean, there are countries who have actually done it, and there are pros and cons around that, obviously. Sure. But one of the things that, from a global standpoint, we realize that in terms of political participation of women that actually end up in a parliament, it tends to be quite low. I mean, even in our own situation, although women make up so much of the society. I can't remember the exact numbers from ESO, but it's basically 50-50, but we don't have that represented in our House.
But we actually have a higher proportion of women voters than male voters.
So the question is why? And I think that this is where attitudes and beliefs and stereotypes come into play. So this is why so much education is actually needed around these topics, sure. Because at the end of the day, sometimes we are our own enemy, our own worst enemy. We want to see certain things, but yet when we have the option to do certain things, we don't necessarily take that option.
It's interesting. That's definitely a whole other conversation that needs to happen.
It is a touchy conversation.
We're in election season, so it's going to happen at some point. On that note, we have to go to our 1 p.m. headline news. When we come back, we do have one more caller on the line. Back with more talk today, right after this.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have, on the island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. As of yesterday, 4 new positives for COVID-19 are reported in the last batch of test results. Medical Officer of Health Dr. Samuel Williams Rodriguez says the 4 are asymptomatic travelers. The total number of people in isolation either at a government facility or in their homes is 877. In international news, according to the BBC, Donald Trump has accepted a formal U.S. transition, which should begin for President-elect Joe Biden to take office. The president said the federal agency overseeing the handover must do what needs to be done, even as he vowed to keep contesting his election defeat. A strange metal monolith has been discovered in the Utah desert by a helicopter crew, leaving local authorities baffled. Wildlife officials spotted the unusual object while counting sheep during a flyover in a remote southeastern area of the U.S. state. They said the structure had been planted in the ground between red rock. There was no indication who installed the monolith, which was about 10 to 12 feet tall. 5 NBA players visited the Vatican on Monday to discuss social and economic injustice with Pope Francis. The meeting took place in the Papal Library of the Apostolic Palace, where the players spoke about their efforts to address inequality in their communities. The players present were Jonathan Isaac, Sterling Brown, Marco Bellinelli, Kyle Korver, and Anthony Tolliver. Those are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
For the latest in news and information,
follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard.
And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. If you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And joining us in studio, Miss Carleen Bramwell, Senior Policy Analyst at the Gender Affairs Unit, and Mr. Ramesh Maharaj from Morant. He is the partner with responsibility for equality, diversity, and inclusion. And again, our whole conversation today about equality in the workplace. And we've touched upon a few different topics from gender to nationality here in Cayman to sex to pregnancy discrimination, and touched upon the labor laws and the gender equality law. So there's a lot that's involved in this conversation and much more that we could have if we had more time. But we do have one caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you for calling Talk Today.
Hi, good afternoon, Raymond. This is Mrs. Seymour here.
Hi, Miss Seymour.
And I want to congratulate my colleague who is with you, Miss Carleen.
Hello, Miss Seymour.
Ably answering the question. But I also want to give kudos to the caller, the male caller just now, about the part that women play in politics. And I know Carleen addressed it, and she talked about the belief system that we have, which is true. But, we're in the 21st century now, and women hold up half the sky. Plus, we are 50-something%, and more of us vote into the parliament.
Exactly.
And therefore, a lot of issues are family issues, and women should take the stand of becoming politicians so that they can work for equality in terms of maternity leave, family leave, parental leave, and that sort of thing. And it is true that the gentleman said that more men enter politics. Well, I think we're in the 21st century now, and the women must take up the mantle and try to equalize or to at least have greater representation in the House. If they have greater representation in the House, more things for their families will evolve and become complete. So that is why through this medium, I am saying to all women who believe that they should be equal and believe that they should move forward to take up the mantle and enter into politics, because politics is for everybody. It doesn't have any sex thing attached to it at all. So here I am at this juncture in November, before the election, saying to women to take it up. I've been there. It is good. It is worthwhile. Only in 50 years, we've only had 11 women being elected. In 50 years, that is not good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Lucia.
You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you, ma'am. And I think that you are a good speaker when it comes on to that topic. Having lived it yourself, you understand the inside and the outside. Thank you for calling.
Ms. Lucille, thank you so much for calling in. Only about 10 minutes left in this segment. I want to briefly venture over to the conversation on age with regards to equality in the workforce. Currently, before this show, we were briefly talking about the number of, you mentioned there's now up to 5 generations at one time in the workforce. Tremendous difference. We start talking about the difference of skill and difference of education, fundamentally different ways of growing up between that 5th generation and the current generation in the workforce. What does the law say with regards to age discrimination? I know it says you can't discriminate against age. Is there any penalties for discriminating against age, or what does that mean to employers who are looking to at the vibrancy of their workforce?
In terms of penalties, I'm just looking at the labor law itself. I can't necessarily see it. It obviously says that there is an offense, and I can't see all of. I don't see all of these penalties in there. But in relation to age, what I would like to say is that older workers a lot of the times get a bad rep. And, well, younger workers too, as we were talking about in the break in terms of millennials. But one of the things that, for example, with the Older Persons Council, we have been trying to promote is the idea that persons, once they are able, physically able, mentally able, if they're allowed to stay within the workplace, then it benefits everybody. First of all, we won't then have to be using the money that government has to support persons who are capable, just because they're over 65, for example, to give them, benefits in terms of NAU assistance and so forth. Because if it is that the workers can continue to work, one, it provides structure for the day, it continues to give them, self-esteem, all of these sorts of things. So it's important that we look at persons. And I know that there is a argument, obviously, about, well, if we keep, all of these older workers, then what's going to happen to those people who are just coming out of school or just coming out of college? So these things have to be balanced. But there are ways and means where we can still encourage older persons to continue to remain in the workplace, and we still get the benefits from their knowledge, from their skills, from that transference of skills even to younger workers. So, it at the end of the day, it can help both from a societal point of view and from a business point of view, I would think.
Okay. You bring the question there that you brought up there. If they stay in the workforce, they're not creating the space for the next generation to come up and work. And it's now the incumbent upon whether it's government policies or private sector policies to create more employment opportunities. And
I think it also comes to the ways how we work as well, because if we then start looking at things like part-time work, reduced hours, those sorts of things, there still can be some balance within that.
Okay. And then as far as your Ramesh, with regards to Morant, with regards to age, what is the general policy with Morant?
Well, when we receive an application, we certainly don't require a date of birth. So we're effectively making decisions, certainly on paper, blind in terms of being able to invite someone into the first interview.
Sure.
As a general approach, we basically have an open mind sort of policy and mentality. We really don't put any real weight on your age, your gender, your colour, etc. What we're really looking for is, can this person add something of value to our organisation? And really that is a very broad sort of spectrum.
It is.
And anyone that can make us better and be part of a team is someone we would be very happy to look at and certainly to interview. And the rest of the other criteria, quite frankly, is not really relevant from our perspective. Now, I would like to think that there are many other employees out there that do the same. They may not be as regimented on it, but I think times are changing, and I'm hoping that over a period of time you change the thinking, you change the laws. We are going to get to a better space as a country, and certainly hopefully as a world as well, in trying to meet some of these challenges that we are certainly facing in the workforce today.
Thank you for that. We have a few minutes left before our 1:15 break. I want to touch very briefly on the topic of bullying, sexual harassment in the workplace. When we start talking about LGBTQIA plus community, when we start talking about just sexual discrimination in general, or that typical bullying or any kind of toxic bullying that we have found, what is Moran's general stance on any of this that falls within this range of topic?
Yeah, so it basically boils down to respect, and utterly, and it sexual harassment is sort of perhaps the extreme side of that, but ultimately that spectrum is all about respect. And you need to have a system in place that any time anyone, for whatever reason, may feel disrespected, that there is an avenue, a safe avenue for them to be able to bring that to the attention of, in our instance, the HR manager. And I'm a partner in that firm. If there was a complaint certainly against me, that would be investigated. And if found out, there would be consequences. And I think that's the key. There needs to be consequences. What you can't have is a system with no teeth, with no ability for anything to be said and for it to be either simply hushed, brushed under the carpet, or in some instances, some organizations, I'm afraid to admit, and say that, you've seen people who have complained about some of these matters are the ones who are managed out of the business. So you're not actually dealing with the problem. You're actually removing the whistleblower, and you are continuing to sort of personify and in fact strengthen the sort of the bad behavior. So it's really important as an organization to have a very open and transparent way of dealing with those kinds of particular grievances.
With regards to other firms, we're doing this conversation that other firms can have start adopting these kind of policies and procedures. Was there a source that Moran used to formulate their policies, or was it some in-house that you use your gender balance and race and ethnicity balance groups to kind of formulate these policies?
I think it's something that's come over time, to be totally honest, and it's evolved. It wasn't something that just simply we came up with it sort of 5 years ago, and there it was. And so there's been the feedback, and there's been the enhancements and the improvements and so on. But any system, any set of rules is only as good as how it's actually policed and applied, because anyone can come up with a perfect criteria for anything. Yeah. And I think every firm, if they were to be honest, would say that it is a moving, improving target. And every experience you have along the way is something that you should hopefully be able to learn from and how you can do it better next time.
Thank you for that, Ramesh. Caroline, anything you want to add in the last?
Just to say that one, as he spoke about in terms of, trying to get people out, get the whistleblower out. Just to say that is actually an offence within the gender equality law, that a victim, it is an offence to victimize a victim further, or the person who have actually complained. So that would be something that persons could actually apply under the Gender Equality Tribunal too. And in terms of sexual harassment in general, wherever it is happening, again, the Gender Equality Tribunal is a place where you can actually make that complaint, and our forms, etc., are online, which can be accessed then, and then it will be dealt with. And also the labor law also has that in it as well.
Mm-hmm. Are there any policies that the Gender Affairs Unit puts out that companies can look at to kind of help formulate their policies in-house?
So one of the things that we're actually considering, and we're trying to look at having a separate sexual harassment law, period. And one of the things that we have considered as well is kind of having like a template within that legislation to guide companies as to what are some of the things that you should actually have in a company policy, for example.
For how you can address it. So there's potential for a sexual harassment law in addition to the labor law and gender equality law?
Possibly. That has been under consideration for quite a while, actually.
Okay.
But
no, fair enough.
Eventually, I think we'll get there.
Eventually, the conversation has to keep on evolving, right? And
exactly.
Eventually, we'll start encompassing all of these into one massive vacuum.
And the thing is that, best practice is something that continually evolves based on the results that you get and so forth. So we're always learning and, always trying to do better. Should be what we're all about.
That should be the goal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, we do have to go to our 1:15 break. Thank you so much for coming in today. We do want to have this as a regular series going forward. We can actually get more parties involved, more members of the community and the various other stakeholders, just to kind of keep this conversation alive and blossoming.
Indeed.
Thank you so much again for coming in this afternoon. On that note, we're going to go to our 1:15 break. Back with more talk today right after this.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best in sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Miracle Brokers International, your worldwide movers and freight forwarders, continues to work hard to improve their expertise to provide you with the first-class service you have come to expect. Now, together with Consolidated Freight Line, CFL, the specialist in logistical and global cargo solutions, customers can rely on an expanded team of moving professionals that gets the job done in a timely manner. Whether it's your prized possessions, full container loads, less than container loads, ro-ro cargo, or construction equipment, from door to port services, or across the oceans, from destinations such as the U.S., Canada, Asia, the Caribbean, Central and South America, among others. Miracle Brokers and CFL combined networks offers hundreds of expert connections that take the stress out of moving and shipping services. Call today for your free estimate, 949-5989. You can also log on to www.miraclebrokers.com. Miracle Brokers is located at the end of Kingbird Road, just past CUC. Miracle Brokers, the art of packing and moving, 949-5989.
Rotary Central Music Extravaganza tickets. They're flying out the window. Get your tickets now from Rotary Central members, Rotary ticket sellers, online at eventpro.ky, Funky Tangs, A.L. Thompson's Home Depot, The Bar at Mango Tree Restaurant, Sievert's Bar on Eastern Avenue, or on Cayman Brac from the Rotary Club of Cayman Brac and Tishara Lewis, or from Barcam on the Run in Red Bay and gas stations island-wide. Get ready to be a winner with your chance to win $40,000 or a second prize of $4,000. And there are 6 $1,000 prizes and more. Do you have your golden ticket for the golden chance? Rotary Central and the Music Extravaganza 2020, supporting over 70 Rotary community projects. Rotary Central, not-for-profit number 232. Your ticket for your chance and your contribution to a better community through Rotary. Remember, Rotary. It opens opportunities.
If you enjoyed The Honeymoon Over, you're going to love the sequel, Fat Chats. Once again, the Harco Theatre will be coming live and direct into your homes and vehicles. As the Cayman National Cultural Foundation, CNCF performs Fat Chats on Radio Cayman. You can join us right here on Radio Cayman every Wednesday night at 7:30 p.m. Starting November 18th until December 23rd. We will have a repeat of each week's episode airing every Saturday at 6:45 p.m. beginning on November 21st and ending on December 26th. Don't miss it.
Maintaining a strong mind and body through sports and general healthy living is a good course of action. But what about your spiritual man, your inner man? He has to be awakened, fed, exercised, strengthened, and led according to the will of God. So, have you heard the call? I'm Evangelist Brother Joseph Joey Ebanks, and I'm inviting you to worship Wednesday and Thursday nights at 7:30. We are bringing the Word of God to our communities as Jesus commanded. Faith comes by hearing. So come in here. Bring your own chair or simpler park and listen to the Word of God from your vehicle, covering the Cayman Islands with the Word of God, one community at a time.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. I do want to say a big thank you again to Mr. Ramesh and Miss Carlene, who were just in for our previous segment. In just about 10 minutes at 1:30, we'll be joined by the HSA, the Director of Corporate Services, and their Patient Experience Manager. But now we do have one caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Good afternoon. Is this John from the Botanical Park?
Yeah, this is John. I'm the General Manager of the Queen Elizabeth II Botanic Park. Just wanted to tell everybody in the community about a big day coming up.
Sure. That's the this weekend?
Yeah, Saturday from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're having a large plant sale at the Botanic Park Nursery. Not only are we having plants on sale for great prices from $4 up to $25, palm trees, plumbagos, small house plants. We also have 3 local farmers, Plantation Organic Gardens, Cayman Farm and Garden, and the farm that is will be on site as well, selling local produce. So it's just another benefit to come out to the Botanic Park on Saturday.
Oh, that's great. Any cost to getting in the park that day?
And that's another great benefit. It's a free day. We're open to the public for everybody. So hopefully the people that buy plants take a few minutes to come have a stroll. The garden looks great with all the rain we've had. Or if you're not even at the plant sale, just come for a walk at the park. We have live music playing from 11 to 3 at the Visitor Center porch. And one more thing that's being on offer this Saturday between 10 and 2 is the Blue Iguana Conservation Program are having a special promotion that is only $5 entry to see a self-guided tour of the Blue Iguana facility that has been newly and greatly refurbished in the last couple months during COVID. So it's a great day at the park to come out.
That is a fun day. It's just one day, so it's 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. This coming weekend. Any idea of what kind of plants you'll have available?
Too many to say. Our nursery manager has been and nurserymen, and they've been busy producing plants the last 3-4 months. I know there's we took kind of a informal survey of what people were looking for. We propped up some of the old favorites, the plumbagos, some old roses, and we've got lots of bromeliads that are seen to be getting more popular here on the island. Some small potted palm trees. So a little bit of everything, and definitely something for everybody.
Oh, that's fantastic. And the rain, I'm sure, it definitely helped you all a lot. You mentioned there's 3 farmers who are going to be selling their produce there?
Yeah, Plantation Organic Gardens, which is Joel Walton's, Cayman Farm and Garden, also known to everybody as Patrick Panton, and the farm that is a new up-and-coming farmer that's going to be present as well, selling their fresh produce. So just a great thing. The other thing I wanted to mention is that even with our cheap prices on our plants, our low prices, we're trying to continually go green at the park, which we do all the time. But if you bring in 10 plant pots, clean, in one piece, we'll get $1 off your purchase. So for every 10 pots you bring in, we'll give you $1 off. So just an initiative to keep these pots out of the landfill. We'll use them again, and we'll keep them going on and on and on.
That's fantastic. I really do like the green initiatives that all different firms are putting on. So again, that's the 10 plant pots, clean and in good shape. Bring those in. That's for, you get $1 off your plant purchase. I got that correct?
Exactly.
Free entry into the park this day. Live music from 11 a.m. until 3-ish.
Correct.
And then walk with you again what's going on with the Blue Iguana projects.
The Blue Iguana Conservation Facility, they've recently refurbished, with the help of some grants, their whole facility has been redone. It's a great facility. It always has been, but now it's all been redone, enlarged. There are cement pathways all over the whole place. So for only $5 entry, you have access into the facility for a self-guided tour. So it's a way to see the blue iguanas close up and personal if you don't see them free roaming in the Botanic Park.
That's fantastic. And then are you able to provide any kind of update on the blue iguana programs, just as far as numbers and how the populations are looking overall? Our numbers are for the numbers of blue iguanas you're referring to? Yes, sir.
Yeah, this year, I can't speak specifically about it, but I know this year was probably the highest number of blue iguanas hatched. So it's been a very successful year for the Blue Iguana Conservation Program and the National Trust, and the team at the Blue Iguana Conservation are definitely looking after everything and improving the facility and the health of the blue iguanas. They're just getting health checks right now by the vets today, and they hope to be releasing some younger iguanas into the park over the next few days. That's fantastic. I mean, that's just you will always want to see that when you put this much effort into a conservation and repopulation effort, that you're having the success that you're having. So congratulations to you and the team at the park. So quick refresher here. So we have the Saturday, November 28th, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Botanic Park. So one day only. Now, with a one day only event, is this something you're looking to turn into a more regular scenario? We are. We've got a lot of things on the go still at Botanic Park, but there is a considerable gap in between propagation and sales times. So typically it's a 3 to 4 month turnaround before we get a next batch of plants working out. So hopefully a quarterly event, and if not sooner. That's fantastic. All right, so we have 3 local farmers there selling their produce: Plantation Organic Gardens, Cayman Farm and Garden, and the farm that is, which you mentioned is one of the new farms on island. Yeah, it's a younger guy. We're getting him out and getting him part of the community, and looking forward to seeing what he has to offer everybody that comes to the park. That's great. The next generation of farmer. Exactly. So free entry, and if you have any extra of those black plastic plant pots, if you bring 10 of those into the Botanic Park, you get $1 off your purchase, and then live music from 11 to 3. Yeah, and if I can mention, the nursery is located. Most people who go to plant sales know it's the main entrance. You take the road to the left where the nursery is, and then if you want to go into the park, you take the regular entrance. And no early birds, please. We'll still be setting up in the morning. There typically is a lineup at the gate, but the gates won't open until 9 o'clock. I'm glad you put that out there, because everyone wants to get there to get the first selection of plants, right? Exactly. No one wants to be the last one in line and get the leftover kind of potted plants. It's just always I really encourage people to come as early as they can. There is people, who are doing other things on Saturday mornings, and they come by around 12:30 and 1 o'clock, and usually the majority of the plants are gone or well picked over by that time. No, sure, absolutely. And if they have any questions or want any further information on the park, how could they get in contact with you? Info at botanic-park.ky is the best email address, or 947-9462. And also our Facebook page is regularly updated, and if you join that, you'll get your updates even quicker. That's great, John. I appreciate you calling to let us know, and hope everything goes well with the pop-up plant sale this weekend. Thank you very much for your time. Hope to see you guys out there. Thank you, sir. On that note, we're going to go to our 1:30 commercial break. When we come back, we're meeting with the team from the HSA. Back with more talk today, right after this.
Fidelity Bank would like to thank all essential workers. We salute your efforts and thank you for the sacrifices you've made to keep us all safe. During these challenging times we're facing, our top priority is the health and safety of the communities we serve. And while it's true that things are changing rapidly every day, one thing that will never change is our commitment to giving you the best and sound financial solutions to help you during and after the coronavirus pandemic. At Fidelity Bank, our focus will always be you. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Rotary Central Music Extravaganza tickets are moving like Blackie's Grape Nut Ice Cream on a sizzling Saturday night in Cayman Brac. Get your tickets now from Rotary Central members, Rotary ticket sellers, online at eventpro.ky, Funky Tangs, Ale Thompson's Home Depot, the bar at Mango Tree Restaurant, Seabird's Bar at Eastern Avenue. In Cayman Brac, Rotary Club of Cayman Brac and Tashara Lewis. Bar Camp on the Run in Red Bay. Gas stations island-wide. Get ready to be a winner. Stand your chance to win $40,000. Second prize, $4,000, 6 $1,000 prizes and more. Your golden ticket, your golden chance. Rotary Central and the Music Extravaganza 2020. Innovators behind the Rotary Cayman Disaster Fund and the Rotary District 7020 Disaster Fund. Your tickets support over 70 Rotary community projects, making every ticket a winner. Rotary Central, not-for-profit number 232. Your ticket, your chance. Your contribution to a better community through Rotary. Rotary opens opportunity.
It's time to run off that extra helping of turkey dinner and give back in a big way this Thanksgiving. Register now for the 5th annual Meals on Wheels 5K and 10K Turkey Trot. Whether you run, jog, walk, or trot, come get active with us on Saturday, November 28th at the Grand Ole House, South Church Street. Registration starts at only $10 and is open to all ages. There are prizes to be won, finishers' medals, trophies, and complimentary continental breakfast to enjoy. Join event sponsors Radio Cayman, Rum Point Club Residences, Davenport Development, Stepping Stones, and McAlpine as they support Meals on Wheels in their fight to end senior hunger in the Cayman Islands. Register today. Visit mealsonwheels.ky or register at racecaribbean.net.
Listen to the general public. Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and very pleased to now have in studio from the HSA, the Director of Corporate Services, Dr. Vincent Douglas, and Patient Experience Manager, Miss Tina McLean. Welcome to Talk Today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. So we're here to talk about an upcoming survey with the HSA. But one of the things that we've been doing with any new kind of guest that's come into the studio, just kind of get our listeners some color and some feel for who you are. The 2020 has been a very challenging year for many people. A lot of struggles, for some they've found silver linings within the lockdown periods. For some they've had just needed to completely just take a massive step back from everything. Your experiences through 2020 thus far, and now that we're sitting almost at the end of November, shockingly, how did you find the lockdown period? Well, I guess I'll start with you, Dr. Benton. How did you find the lockdown period? Did you develop any new skills in the process of being forced to quarantine, or were you forced to work throughout the entire process?
Thanks for that. Well, pretty much 2020 has been quite challenging.
Sure.
And of course, we have developed quite a bit of new skills, in particular virtual meetings.
Virtual meetings, I know, the new norm.
Right, pretty much that was something that wasn't what we have as a skill set in the past, but COVID, we have changed, we have perfected it, and
sure.
And we are developing on it at this point in time. Of course, with regards to patient experience, that
sure,
was quite.
I guess that must have been a challenge.
That was quite a challenge, and
sure.
still remains a challenge. We have seen quite a bit of patients that pretty much are, because of the lockdown, are more or less depressed, and we have received quite a bit of complaints surrounding that.
Sure.
So we had was to adjust and still adjusting because of COVID.
You brought up a great perspective, because your perspectives from your industry is so vastly different than everybody else's. It's the equivalent of looking at, for those of our listeners who are not fully abreast of what I'm saying, if you're looking at a fire and the fire is burning down the house, the firefighter on the inside of that fire trying to stop that house from burning down has a whole different vantage point of the chaos unfolding. And I know we did the call salute to all the frontline service workers, but in all fairness, like, you all have such a different perspective that I think the entire community is constantly standing behind how well our medical professionals really did in the face of having to work with the community. When you're in a lockdown yourself, you're doing virtual sessions with patients. It's such a diverse and changing, evolving field, and your perspective is whole different. So thank you for sharing that one. Ms. Tina?
Yeah, I mean, it was the same because throughout COVID, most of us remained working.
Sure.
A lot of us were redeployed from our regular duties, 9 to 5, and we worked different shifts. So for someone who worked 9 to 5 for the last maybe 12, 15 years, and you go back on shifts, 12-hour shifts, it was a bit of a change.
Sure, I bet.
So that was a bit of a shocker, in addition to, as Dr. Douglas said, moving to virtual meetings and that sort of stuff. So the skill sets that we had before were utilized, but then you gained new skill sets, which have become quite handy and will continue to become handy. And as he said, not only did our patients suffer, but then you have to think about the staff who, in addition to being in lockdown, so much so from at home, but lockdown in terms of being restricted to just leaving home and coming to work, they also have to be taken into consideration in terms of their mental health as well.
Sure.
So
absolutely, and that of their families as well.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it's not just work during a pandemic situation and then come back home during a pandemic situation. We saw the videos across YouTube of frontline workers throughout the world who had to see their families through glass doors because they had to be quarantined themselves throughout the process.
And we had staff here like that who worked with the specialized patients, and they themselves were in isolation units. So, I mean, we can't forget those staff members, and I mean, we owe a huge debt to those staff members because they put themselves on the front lines, and they were very diligent and maintained very strict protocols, and their family members were then put on the back burners because they literally sacrificed their family time, their families, in order to give first-line care, first world service to those patients.
No, absolutely. It's impressive. So again, I guess on behalf of the entire community, thank you so much for your efforts. Looking at your titles for just a moment, before we actually delve into the survey discussion that we're going to have today, the Director of Corporate Services and the Patient Experience Manager. Walk us through what each of those roles actually entail before we actually delve into the conversation. Okay. Director of Corporate Services.
Right. Okay, so for those who are just joining us, I'm Dr. Vinton Douglas, right? And as you have asked, I'm the Director of Corporate Services. So under my portfolio comes patient services. And pretty much there are quite a bit of other responsibilities, including hospital accreditation, health and safety, quality assurance, HIM, which is Health Information Management. That's where you deal with medical records and coding for billing and so on. Also infection control. So pretty much it's a wide portfolio. Wow. So Tina here with me, Miss Tina McLean, she's the Patient Experience Manager. She is one of the managers that comes under the Director of Corporate Services portfolio.
Okay. Yeah. And then as far as yourself, Ms. Tina, what is involved within your role?
Oh gosh, well, my role has evolved quite a bit. I started out as initially as the patient services rep. My background is I'm a nurse.
Okay.
I'm a registered nurse, and right now I'm the patient experience manager, and I also manage the medical social worker and the patient experience officer and the patient experience assistant who is at the information desk down in the atrium.
Okay.
So
Well, they're very great. Whenever I forget my mask, they always have a mask there.
Oh, yes.
Let me say that right now. They're fantastic.
Yeah, we ensure. For some reason, everybody seems to have lost or misplaced their reusable.
The thing is, we forget.
Mask,
we don't wear them around throughout the regular. We've grown unaccustomed to it.
Yeah.
So I had to go to a dentist appointment
Yeah.
twice in a row, and both times where my mask was sitting on my desk. I'm like,
So we make sure that there's a good supply of masks there, so that everybody who comes into the hospital has a mask. So in my role, patient experience basically is to ensure that it describes that patient experience of somebody who is sick or their illness from the health. How they describe it is that the patient experience describes the experience of someone who is sick or illness or their illness when they are treated from the healthcare perspective, right?
Sure.
And with HSA right now, and moving towards a patient-centered care, just like anywhere else in the world, we want to ensure that we are up and up with the scene.
Of course,
right?
Yes.
So to do that, we have to take into consideration metrics, trends, and that sort of stuff.
Sure.
So that's where the patient experience comes in.
Absolutely.
So I monitor all the complaints, the compliments, all that sort of stuff. That's in addition to overseeing the medical social worker and assisting with a lot of other stuff, which
No, of course, there's a lot in your umbrella.
It's a lot of other stuff that I monitor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with regards to then, like we start talking about patient care and their experience, is it a holistic question that you're looking at? Is it the question of how good was my doctor, or was it how amazing the facilities were, how attentive were the nurses in the process, was the follow-ups, was I left in my bed for hours on end before not being checked, was it my time when I had to wait in the waiting room? Is it all of these factors that are coming into this experience?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, so it is a lot more. And are there standards internationally that you're using to kind of
Yes.
trying to meet those metrics?
Yes.
And who puts out those standards? WHO or are these?
No. So what we have is we have a third party that's in the United States that they're a long time partner, and it's called NRC, which is the National Research Corporation, and they have validated question pods pretty much that. Pretty much, they have done a research to find out what matters most to patients, and based on what matters most, they have crafted specific questions, and in doing so, we are able to ascertain from the patients, what gaps need to be filled.
Okay, we have to go to our 1:45 break in just a moment. So this was the National Research Corporation.
That's it.
Okay, are they a medical facility, or are they just a research house that does research on various?
Right. So they do quite a bit of focus on patient satisfaction.
Okay,
survey.
fair enough. So this is where they're within the medical field,
hospital
or
field, yes, within
just
the
within hospital.
Healthcare. Yes.
Okay, so they are specific to the medical field. And had they been a part of your processes previously?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so they've helped shape a lot of your
So
policies
we've been
right
with
now.
them since
2012.
Since 2012, and if I'm correct, I think they have been in inception since 1981.
Okay, so they're established.
Yes, so
firm.
they are
have
well established.
Some
Yes.
tenure to their portfolios. Okay, on that note, we're going to go to our 1:45 break. We're back with more talk today right after this.
Did you know that Cayman National Bank is the only bank represented across all 3 of our islands? That's right, Cayman. We're your bank and we're here for you. Visit any of our available customer service centers for your everyday banking needs, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Fridays, 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. Your banking experience matters to us, and we're here to serve you.
Digital is not a buzzword, it is a culture. At Digicel, we've made it our mission to enrich your digital lives. That's why we're bringing together more of all the experiences you love. The latest shows, the best of local and international music and radio, live sports, cloud storage, breaking news, HD video chats, and more. Welcome to Digital at Digicel, the Caribbean's fastest mobile network. Digicel, better together.
For the record.
For information that matter to you, the people. Hear from the government, the opposition, independents, and other experts on issues and solutions that affect you. For the record. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, tune into 89.9 and 93.9 FM from 7:30 to 9 a.m. for Cayman's new Straight Talk morning show. For the record.
I invite you to join me for the record. You are invited to be a part of this interesting and informative show. Embrace the opportunity to dialogue with your legislators, policymakers, and those charged with policy implementation.
For the record. Brought to you by
Coca-Cola. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Distributors.
Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola.
The Paramount Carpet pre-Christmas blowout sale is back. Monday, November 23rd through Saturday, November 28th. Save big with assorted remnant tiles, $250 square foot, $100 a pallet. Assorted remnant granite slabs, $300 each. Ceramic tiles as low as 75 cents a square foot. Porcelain tiles as low as 99 cents a square foot. Area rugs, 35% off. Carpets, 25% off. And all other in-house tiles, 20% off. Cash and carry. Visit the Big Blowout Sale at Paramount Carpet, November 23rd to November 28th, located on 317 North Sound Road, Industrial Park. Open Monday to Friday, 7:30 till 5, and Saturday, 7:30 till 2. Call 949-5000.
We do a whole lot more than just cover your floor at Paramount Carpet.
Oh, Cayman moon.
The voice of the Cayman Islands, Radio Cayman.
Shining down from above.
We love our listeners.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, and very pleased to have in studio 2 team members from the HSA, Director of Corporate Services, Dr. Vinton Douglas, and the Patient Experience Manager, Miss Tina McLean. Welcome again to Talk Today. I guess we'll jump into the heart of our conversation today, which is in relation to a new survey that the HSA is undertaking. So my first question on the survey, before we actually get into the meat of it, is this the first time this type of survey is being done, or has this been done in the past?
All right. So we have a survey process in place. So
do, okay.
I can actually tell you what we have in existence,
Please do, yes.
and what we are going to be moving towards.
Please.
So first and foremost, it is the same company that's going to be doing our new outreach survey.
The National Research Center.
Yes, the National Research Corporation.
Sorry.
Yes.
Thank you.
So what we have in existence is a process whereby the company itself reach out to just a few persons. So the sample pool is relatively small, right? So for the month, perhaps they will reach out to. Tina, can you come up with a number at this point in time? But it's really a small sample.
It's a small sample because we had an issue in terms of collection of emails. So as a result of that, we found that the same patients were getting resurveyed. So so the pool that they were sampling was being surveyed quite often. I would rather not throw out a number because I'm not 100% certain of it. So the pool of sample was
really small.
Was small.
And
now,
then
sorry, please go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. So and then there were other challenges with it also. There were other challenges with it also in the sense that the number, the telephone number that's routed, it's displayed as an overseas number. So so sometimes people, patients, they get a little suspicious and they decide not to answer the phone because it appears as if it's coming from an overseas number.
I'm one of those individuals who immediately goes, nope, it's from overseas.
Exactly.
I am not answering.
Right. And then also, it took us some time for us to get the results. Sometimes 2-3 months down the line, you're getting the results of patients that you have surveyed, and so it doesn't putting the theory into practice was not.
Sure.
Yeah, we're just doing the survey for what? That's the question. Even though we'd still get some traction from it, right? But it wasn't very, very, very practical.
No, of course, you're looking for things that you can actually rectify. If there's areas you want to be able to fix those areas right away.
Right.
Yeah, we would get alerts, and then we would action those alerts. However, the analytics was not giving us the information that we needed in order to work.
Sure.
Yeah.
So a couple quick questions. Do you know what caused the delay in getting the results back from the NRC? Or was it an NRC?
I think it's the process, and that's why they have changed it.
Sure. Okay.
It's the process. It took them some time to get to the patients, and then
Sure.
So this now, so they have now changed the process.
Okay.
And this is where we are going out for our what we call a real-time survey. Right. So this is it. So there's the old system. It's putting the whole theory into practice wasn't well.
Just because surveys tend to be one of those items where generally users tend to steer away from surveys. You get asked for a survey. If you're like me, you probably have seen a survey question almost every day for the past 3 years.
Yes.
And we tend to vacantly go, no, thank you. It's just going to take time. Meanwhile, they do have a meaningful purpose.
Yes.
They take time from us as a user, but there's a meaningful purpose. That's to better the experience of my service when I come to see you next time.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we tend to be very short-sighted as users, and we look at, this is my 5 minutes right now, though. I need my 5 minutes right now. And it has a merit to it. But going back to, you mentioned the small sample pool the first time around. There was a few different clogs in the system previously. Those issues have been ironed out, and we're now ready to move forward with your new survey. But you mentioned the small pool at that one time where you had a certain number of individuals who had been surveyed repeatedly. Did you see any improvement in their survey responses based on having been able to go back to them again? Yeah, well, what we found is that when there were times when they would contact us and said, I'm tired. I got the survey before. Do I need to answer it again? Sure. And when I got those calls, I would say, please do give us that feedback. Yes. We greatly appreciate that feedback. Absolutely, yeah. And of course they said, okay, just as long as it is going to be used for meaningful purpose. Absolutely. So those people that do reach out and would say something, give and let us know that they were getting that survey or questioning the amount of times that they received it, and we actually verify that, yes, we want you to respond to it. They would respond, they would take it. Sure. And that's how we came about reaching out to NRC and saying, the pool is just too small. We're not getting enough information. It's not serving its purpose. Of course. So that's what happened. And then as far as the survey that's going to be coming up, is this a scenario where it's a hospital-wide, any patient across any department?
Every patient.
Every patient.
Every patient will be surveyed.
Sure.
So that's the advantage. So they will reach out to, once you have utilized the service, you will be surveyed. Okay. And in fact, on the note of the small pool, it is estimated that from every 100,000 patients that's been surveyed with this new system, they're expecting 15 to 25,000 responses. So
that's a big increase.
That's, yeah.
What's the what has prompted that drastic increase in the rates of responses?
No, that's what they have calculated and based on research
of their own.
Of their own.
Their
right.
previous,
However,
okay.
I cannot say what's going to take place in the Cayman Islands.
Sure.
But that's,
have they mentioned what prompted their? That's a big increase. That's a huge increase in.
Yes.
But it's rare to see 25% of a group.
Yes. But I have my own opinion why it might be like that.
I want to hear the theory.
Right. Because the process that we're going to be using, it's especially people like it's more technology driven. People are curious about it, but there are a subset of persons also who don't like it. But I believe that's the reason why. Another factor is because you're reaching out to everyone, you're leveraging on technology to reach out to everyone. Most naturally, you're gonna get an increase in persons who actually going to be taking part in the survey.
Interesting. And you mentioned it's a real-time survey. What does real-time mean? It's
okay. So a real-time survey is once you have used the service, you will be contacted within 24 hours. Once they have gotten the file, because it's all automatic. It's an automated call that's going to come to you. So
so the machine is going to call me.
So the machine is going to call you, and I have a sample whenever you're ready that we can play for the audience too.
Oh, okay. Then after our 2 p.m. news, we can actually play that sample.
Yes,
so
right.
And this sample is going to include the types of questions that they're going to be asked.
The question part. So it will be pretty much between 8 to 12 questions,
depending on which service location you've used.
Okay, so if I used one of the supplementary services like the dentist office, I might get fewer questions theoretically than if I went to general practice or to ER.
Yeah.
Okay, and then as far as the responses for users doing the survey, are they just typing in their responses into the phone like a keypad response?
Yes.
I rank this service a 3 out of 10, or
like one for definitely not, most likely not, those kind of things.
Sure.
I can tell you what.
Right. So we
can play that.
Yeah.
And is there an opportunity for users to actually include their comments as well?
Yes. For the emails, they will have open-end questions.
Okay, so there's going to be an email component to the survey as well.
So there's telephone. The outreach is telephone.
Okay.
If they don't answer the telephone, then within 24 hours, there's email.
Okay.
And if they don't respond to the email, then within the next 24 hours, then there's another telephone call.
Okay. And then last question before we go to our break, or 2 p.m. news, is every single patient that sees the HSA going to be receiving this, or is there going to be a sample pool of those individuals?
So all patients will receive.
All patients, wow.
Yeah. Okay. But there are some exclusions.
Okay.
And so you only can be contacted, for instance, twice for the year. Because what they're trying to prevent is like survey fatigue.
Sure, which is exactly what we're all going through, right?
Right. So Tina can tell you some exclusion criteria that, perhaps.
Sure. Actually, if you don't mind, if you wait till after 2 p.m., we can actually address those exclusions. But I think it's impressive that you're actually taking on a system that looks at polling or surveying the entire body of individuals that sees the HSA, because HSA sees quite a few patients on a daily. How many patients are coming through the HSA every day?
Well, we see over 100,000
for the year.
For the year, not patients. We see over 100,000 encounters.
Visits, where you actually have visits to the actual hospital itself.
Yeah.
And we're talking about that's almost double the population. So that's the number of visits that are coming in. So that's quite a few individuals that you're actually having to poll or a survey. So I give you a lot of credit where credit's due. And we'll address the question on regards to children and parents as well when we get back. Back with more talk today after our 2 p.m. headline news.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only 2 species that we have in North Island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
It is in the best interest of the people of these islands.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. For those wanting to get involved with relief efforts for Nicaragua, a meeting is planned for tonight at 6 p.m. at the Lions Center. In international news, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has joined a growing list of public figures targeted by pranksters posing as climate activist Greta Thunberg. The Prime Minister apparently fielded questions from the fake Ms. Thunberg on NATO, world peace, and Donald Trump. A spokesperson for the Prime Minister told iPolitics that when Mr. Trudeau realized he was not speaking to the real Ms. Thunberg, he ended the call. Millions of Americans are already traveling to celebrate Thanksgiving despite warnings from health officials amid a significant wave of coronavirus cases and deaths. 3 million people are reported to have already traveled through U.S. airports from Friday to Sunday. The Dirty Dancing sequel is set to star Jennifer Grey, but she's well aware it won't be the same without Patrick Swayze. She says, quote, "All I can say is there is no replacing anyone who's passed. You never try to repeat anything that's magic like that," Grey told People. "You just go for something different." Swayze died at age 57 in 2009 of pancreatic cancer. Dirty Dancing 2 was announced back in August. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, radiocayman.gov.ky.
Your voice, your choice, your radio.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. Thank you again for sharing your afternoon with us here on Talk Today. We're joined by members of the HSA, Director of Corporate Services, Dr. Vinton Douglas, and Patients Experience Manager, Ms. Tina McLean. We are discussing the upcoming new survey methods that will be taking place with the HSA and their goals to improve the services that are being offered to patients across Cayman, not only here in Grand Cayman, but in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman as well, with regards to the hospital at Faith Hospital. So let's jump back into the survey process. I believe, Dr. Minton, you had a audio recording of what the interview process is going to be like. If you don't mind, if we could actually play that for our listeners.
Just a brief, probably about 30 seconds, you'll get an...
Sure. So while you're looking for that, so just remind our listeners.
But what I wanted to say also is that just in order for the audience to have a better understanding,
sure.
First, they will be contacted via telephone, and that's an automated telephone. And if they don't answer, and say, for instance, they realize that there is a missed call because the call will be coming in from a 946-8600 number.
Sure.
If they reply, they will be able to take the survey also.
So anybody can actually call this number,
yes,
and access the survey.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. If you don't answer the call, as Tina stated, within 24 hours, an email will be sent to you, and if you don't respond to that within 24 hours, another you will receive another phone call.
Sure.
So let me play here what it's like.
Hello, this is HSA General Practice Clinic, calling about your recent visit. If this is test patient, press 1. If not, press 2. If we have great, we would like your feedback about your experience at HSA General Practice Clinic during your recent visit on June 2nd. There are only a few brief questions, and your participation will help us improve the quality of care that we provide to you, your family, friends, and neighbors. We value your feedback and may share patient comments anonymously online. It will only take a few minutes of your time, and your participation is greatly appreciated. Let's get started. Were you seen by this provider in a timely manner? For no, press 1. For yes, somewhat, press 2. For yes, mostly, press 3. For yes, definitely, press 4. Did this provider give you enough information about your health and treatment? For no, press 1. For yes, somewhat, press 2. For yes, mostly, press 3. For yes, definitely, press 4. Did this provider listen carefully to you? For no, press 1. For yes, somewhat, press 2. For yes, mostly, press 3. For yes, definitely, press 4.
All right, Dr.
Right.
Dr. Ribbon, thanks so
Right.
much. So that's a sample of what it'd be like for...
What a sample is. So it will cover your access to care,
Sure.
your coordination of care, your emotional support, information about education. For instance, do you know what to do if you were to contact another healthcare facility? Patient safety, right? Your physical comfort, respect for patient preferences, also your overall rating for the organization. So pretty much depending on where you are, where you're being surveyed, questions will surround those set of indices, and it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes overall to complete the survey.
Okay.
Another important thing is that the timing of the calls. The calls are going to be made in the afternoon. We were quite cognizant of the fact that people don't respond well to getting calls for surveys like during the day because they're working and they're not accessible. So we put it so that the calls are going to be made between 6 p.m. and 8 p.m. We didn't want to make it any later than that because of people, getting their kids ready or going to bed or doing other stuff, personal things.
Of course.
So that's going to be the time that the calls would be made between 6 p.m. I was quite cognizant of the fact that, in Cayman, people are in traffic up until quite late sometimes.
Absolutely.
So, but, we really couldn't push it back much later than that.
No,
so
of course.
that's the time that the calls would be sent out.
You don't have a whole lot of windows to really work with, whether someone's at work or they're dealing with their kids or they're in traffic. We all have extremely busy schedules, and that's just the nature of it. So you're doing the best you can with the limit of hours that you have to work with. Now, you mentioned that if the individual does not respond to the call they receive, there's going to be a follow-up email.
Yes.
Now, when we start talking about emails now, we start getting into people's concern about privacy. They're putting out information, and this is also their opportunity to being asked open-ended questions as well, and they can offer their responses. One, what will that survey look like? Will it be the literary version of the call we just heard?
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
And you will also have the opportunity to free text, whatever you think is necessary also, as an option. But what I want to say also, although the email will be routed from a local number, 946-8600, just be mindful that the email will be coming from a strange appearing email, which is connectsurvey@surveynrc.com. So what I want to say and what I want to appeal to the Cayman Islands is that whenever you see an email coming from there, it's not a phishing email. It's real, and we've been trying to get around it, but because of the company's policy, they cannot get it routed like it's coming from a local email.
That begs the question, because you brought up the phishing element, and this is something with regards to medical records. People are hesitant when it comes to any kind of financial, health, or highly personal, sensitive information. We tend to be less inclined to go out and put it out. We'll take selfies and put it out on the internet. Yeah. But when it comes to our personal, private data, we tend to be a lot more careful. Do you know what measures the company has taken on their end to avoid any kind of hacking in regards to this kind of information, this sensitive level of information?
Well, okay. So first of all, as you know, in the Cayman Islands, we have to be compliant with the data protection law.
Great. Yes, that's my next question to you.
And any company, third party, that we procure, they also have to be compliant with the data protection law.
Here as well as
right. They have They have to have a certain standards, that we are satisfied with, so that it's in keeping with the data protection law of the Cayman Islands.
Sure.
So, with the data protection law, there are certain rules that you have to abide by. So if there's a breach, say for instance from their end, based on the law, they may be the one that are culpable. So pretty much, the main thing here is to ensure that they are compliant with the standards that's required for us here in the Cayman Islands to be compliant also with the law.
And just to reassure our listeners and the community at large, I'm assuming the due diligence on this firm has been done by the AGSA, and they've been vetted like anybody else would have been vetted for their to ensure that they're reputable in every way, shape, or form. There's been no breaches within their systems in the past. Just to add a little bit of reassurance for our listeners.
Right. Yeah. So pretty much, based on their reputation that we are aware of, and they have to go through stringent measures in the United States of America.
Sure.
And they are one of the leading healthcare survey organization. Sure. So we are very confident that they are able to abide by the stringent rule that we have here in the Cayman Islands. There's no way where you're going to get 100% perfection anywhere, but we are pretty confident that they are good.
Okay. One more quick question in regards to the feedback that you're going to be getting from this research. With previous surveys, you mentioned there wasn't a timely feedback loop where you were actually getting the information back in a short enough time that you could actually make the improvements for the immediate future. With regards to these surveys, is this an ongoing process where you're going to be receiving updates regularly so that you have basically an ongoing report card of scenarios? Is that the ultimate goal here?
Yes. So the good thing with this survey is that we can put all of this theory into practice. So what happens? So
it's not funny, but I know what you mean.
So we will have someone that's monitoring what's going on, and from the patients that are surveyed, we can put them into 3 different categories, and these 3 categories are: 1, those who are saying bad things about HSA; those that after they are being surveyed, you realize that the score is such that they may come back or they may go somewhere else depending on how they feel. So we can determine that from how they answer the question. And then there are those that are promoting HSA. So from those 3 categories, we can look and the person who's going to be monitoring this dashboard in real time. We can look at it and say, hey, John Brown here is saying bad things. Let us go out on a service recover mode and see if we can, get back John Brown in the system.
Sure.
So pretty much when I say put theory into practice, that's what we actually mean. It's more meaningful. We are customer friendly, and this whole patient experience survey is not just about your bad experience. It's patients and staff survey, because we want to hear the good things also, what you're saying about our staff, because they are human just the same way. And believe you, there are quite a lot of healthcare employees. Whenever they really hear bad things, they take it really, really, really hard. So we want to hear good things also, not just the bad things. And if things not going well, we want to hear so that we can improve. That we can improve on it.
I'm glad you're right. We have to go to our commercial break. I'm really glad you brought that last comment up there. We are so quick to throw the shade and the insults and the complaints and just vent, and that we tend to overlook so many of the good that's been done. The fact that that individual literally just saved your life is overlooked by the fact that you had to wait 5 extra minutes.
That's a known fact.
And it's like it's a frustrating one, but I'm glad you brought that up. That's important that listeners or that the survey, people who take the surveys, take the time to actually offer the praise where praise is due. On that note, let's go to our quick commercial break and back with more Talk Today.
Kirk Freeport's Black Friday weekend sale is bigger than ever, with up to 70% off an incredible selection of watches, jewelry, and accessories. Even better, Kirk Freeport is giving extended access to the sale all day Thursday through Monday. Find the sale at Bayshore Mall and Cardinal Avenue, or enjoy late night shopping at the Strand until 9 p.m. Get unbeatable discounts from brands including Roberto Coin, Swarovski, Bulgari, Masica, Doves, Ippolita, Lagos, Fossil, and many more. Plus, take an additional 10% off all non-branded sale merchandise. It's Black Friday all weekend at Kirk Freeport. Visit KirkFreeport.com for full details.
The Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan. We're here for you. Did you know that since May, in support of the COVID-19 Emergency Withdrawal Program, the Chamber Pension Plan leveraged IT and human resources to successfully review over 16,900 member applications, approve over 12,579 applications, and will pay over CI $143 million to our plan members. We are the Cayman Islands Chamber of Commerce Pension Plan, and we're here for you. For further information regarding the Chamber Pension Plan, visit chamberpension.ky. And for information as it happens, follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Instagram. Email admin@pensions.ky or call 745-7630.
You know you've dreamed of that Mercedes. The smooth leather. The style. Ooh la la! With the Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzarama. Now is your chance to make that dream come through. Get your ticket for the Benzarama fundraiser at Lorna's Gas Station in Budden Town, West Bay Esso, Funky Tangs, Reflections, and South Coast Bar and Grill. As well at Event Pro. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzarama fundraiser supports site screening, Christmas deliveries, restoration, and social services.
The Benzarama drawing will take place December 5th. All Benzarama tickets bought earlier this year are still valid.
Hey, I'm so glad you can make it this weekend.
Of course. Wow, this place is amazing. How did you find this?
I found it on Experience Cayman. They have so many staycation ideas.
I'll check it out, but for now, let's hit that pool.
Experience Cayman is a celebration of everything local. To rediscover all the best things to see and do in the Cayman Islands, visit gov.ky/Experience Cayman and follow Experience Cayman on Facebook and Instagram. Brought to you by the Ministry of Commerce, Planning and Infrastructure.
Listen to the general public.
Your thoughts are just a telephone call away. 1-800-534-8255.
What the public is saying.
Let your voice be heard. And now,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today.
And welcome back to Talk Today. In case you're just tuning in for the tail end of our show, I'm Raymond Singh, filling in for Mr. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks. And we have in studio the team from the HSA, the Director of Corporate Services, Dr. Vincent Douglas, and Patient Experience Manager, Ms. Tina McLean. And we do have one caller on the line. Good afternoon, caller. Thank you so much for calling Talk Today.
Good afternoon, and good afternoon to your panel.
Thank you.
I just turned the radio on like 5 minutes ago, and I just got very little information in regards to HSA, what you all was trying to put together. Can I tell you some experiences at HSA?
Sure. We can keep it very brief, though. We only have a few minutes left in our show.
Pardon me?
Yes, but just keep it very brief. Please do let us know your experience.
Well, my GP doctor, Dr. Williams, he's with the COVID situation now, so I've been trying to see the doctors at the hospital. So I went down there in September, and I did some tests that I was asked to do, and I was trying to get the results. And when I tried to make an appointment to go back to see the doctor who I went to see, I was told he was on vacation. And then I've been waiting, and no doctor. So I decided to call again and make another appointment. And when I went to another doctor, they going to tell me that it's best to get your results from a doctor who will send you to do these results. And I'm like, really? You know? And I also have an appointment to the specialist department, and they're calling cancel that a couple of weeks ago and telling me that they will have to backlog me and say they're bringing me forward. They got backlogged me, and I'm like, you know, the doctor is getting this test to be done, and I need it done. They say, well, they'll speak to the supervisor and they get back with me. This is about 3 weeks, almost 4 weeks now, and no one has called me to make this appointment to have this other test being to see this other doctor, one of the specialists, you know. So it really makes you wonder.
No, the caller. Thank you so much for calling in. That's it. I can empathize with the concern that you have and the frustration you must have felt the second time that happened. If I can let you go here, and I'll let Dr. Vinton address your concern there. Thank you so much for calling in again. Dr. Vinton?
Thanks for that, caller. I think it's going to be a little bit complex. I need some more background in order to address this issue.
Okay.
I can actually leave my number, perhaps, because it's perhaps it's going to take some time.
Sure.
If that's okay with the caller.
Sure. Is there an email address that you're happy to announce over here? And
I can give my telephone number also.
Sure.
That's fine.
Please.
Right. So the telephone number is 244. That's 2618.
244-2618.
Yes. Or my email is Vinton. That's VINTON. Vinton.Douglas DOUGLAS @hsa.ky.
That's fantastic, and hopefully our caller is still listening is able to, but just in case.
And certainly we will, resolve whatever issues she's having.
Sure. Thank you so much for that, Dr. Brenton. Again, that number was 244-2618 for a caller, or you can email vinton.douglas @hsa.ky. He's the Director of Corporate Services. And again, I think a very generous scenario to be able to address all of your client services. At the end of the day, no one wants to be doing a job that's not fulfilling the needs of your customers and your clients.
Yeah, and on behalf of the organization, we want to apologize for our bad experience as she termed it, and we're looking forward for some service recovery.
That's great, and that's hence the reason why we're doing this real-time survey, right?
Absolutely.
We want to see the beneficial results. We want to see the client, the patient experience become an overall just an improving philosophy. So we're getting to the tail end of our show. Let's quickly recap what it is that we're going to be doing here with the surveys and what we can offer for parents as well, as far as reassurance of what the survey is going to mean for their children as well.
All right. So pretty much we will be expanding our patient experience outreach to what is we're going to be calling a real-time survey, and that will start sometime in December this year. Okay, the survey will be conducted by a third party, a reputable third party that we have been with since 2012. That's the National Research Corporation, ELS, NRC. And patients will receive an automated phone call from a 946-8600 number. If they don't respond to that phone call, then within 24 hours they will be receiving an email, and this email will be from a Connect survey at surveynrc.com. And if within 24 hours they don't respond to the email, they will receive another phone call. Bearing in mind that whenever you see a missed call from 946-8600, you can actually call the number and take the survey also. The survey will include all HSA locations. That means all our clinics, the emergency room, the general practice. It will include Faith Hospital also, and Little Cayman. It takes less than 5 minutes to complete the survey. And so also the survey is fully compliant with the data protection laws of the Cayman Islands. And just bear in mind that these feedbacks will help us to improve both our patient and staff survey. taking into consideration that children are also seen in our organization, parents will also be, and guardians will also be interviewed. And so we welcome those feedback. And we will be able to monitor patients who are saying good things about the organization, those who are neutral, and those who are not saying good things. And we are going to put in place we already have in place, but we will immediately deploy a service recovery team to address your needs.
That's great. Ms. Tina, any final points you want to add on that, or did Dr. Vinton kind of sum it up quite nice?
I just wanted to make mention quickly about the exclusions,
Yes, please.
So we want to ensure that patients don't have survey fatigue, which is what we said earlier. So no one should receive no more than one survey within 3 days, and there should be no more than one survey within 180 days within the same location. So if you go to the general practice unit for, say, 6 times for the year, unless you're seeing a different service provider, you should not receive no more than 2 surveys for the year. Okay. And the next, or the last one that I would mention, is that persons will have the ability to opt out of the survey. And if you choose the ability to opt out of the survey, then all of the telephone numbers and emails that is in the database will be removed, unless you let us know or you put a different email or telephone number in the system, then you would receive a new email.
Okay. So just to clarify, you can opt out of the survey, but your numbers and contact information will be taken away from the NRC, not from the HSA.
No, not from the HSA.
Correct.
Only for the survey.
Correct.
So if you choose to opt out of the surveys, you let us know, and then we will let NRC know that you no longer want to be receiving the surveys.
Okay. Do they have to provide a reason, or they can just let you know they opt out?
No. Okay. But the other thing I want to say to that, to add to Tina, if you opt out and say your phone number, that's one of the things that they're going to use. If you change your phone number, you may get you may be resurveyed, yet you may not want to be surveyed. So it's important that you let us know if you get a new number that you really don't want to be surveyed, so that we can get that in the system.
Yeah. And it's an evolution. It's a work in progress. So there's going to be some kinks you're working out.
Absolutely.
But I think for most of our listeners, they're well aware that the HSA is here to provide a quality service, and this survey is here to ensure that service continues to improve. Thank you so much. Again, Dr. Vinton, for our members listening, the numbers again was 244-2618. If you had any further questions, or you can email vinton.douglas@hsa.ky. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. A couple quick notes we want to throw out there for the community before we wrap up this end of the show, and sort of is a little different than talking about surveys for the HSA. We do have the Rotary Extravaganza coming up this Saturday, November 28th at Salty's. $40,000 in prizes up for grabs, and it supports the Rotary. Have you got your tickets yet? I see a big smile on your face. Oh yeah, she's like, I got my ticket. The Meals on Wheels Turkey Trot is also Saturday, November 28th. You can register at mealsonwheels.ky. The 2020 Singing Christmas Tree will be on Sunday, November 29th at 7 p.m. It is a pre-recorded segment this year covering all of the highlights from the past 9 years, and that will be aired on CIG TV, Radio Cayman, and on YouTube. And the National Day of Prayer and Thanksgiving is Monday, November 30th at 12 p.m. on CIG TV, YouTube, and Facebook. Miss Tina, Dr. Vincent, thank you so much again. Or Vinton, I'm sorry. Thank you so much for coming in this afternoon. It's been a pleasure. On that note, we do need to call it a wrap for Talk Today. Thank you again to all of our loyal listeners out there in Radio Cayman Nation, to Miss Susan Watson, our panelists regarding the equality in the workplace conversation, and of course from the HSA. It has been a pleasure bringing you Talk Today, and on behalf of the entire Radio Cayman family, thank you for sharing your afternoon with us. I'm Raymond Singh. God bless, and have a fantastic rest of your week.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Shaken yet standing.